Emily is with us for the press review now. She's linking to what was our second story because she's starting off in the UK. Coverage of Keir Starmer's continuing struggles, Emily.
Yeah, well, if the papers were a little bit tame at earlier in the week, that they've really gone for it this morning. Let's have a look first at the Daily Star, which is quite a creative front page here this morning. It says that the PM is stuck in a zombie government with over 90 MPs asking for him to go. The paper says that Keir Starmer's fate is already sealed and that he needs to move from being the talking dead to the doing dead and actually leaving. Instead, though, the PM has so far shrugged off the mutiny, as The Sun says here today. Headlines with "Crisis? What crisis?" a reference to PM James Callaghan in 1979, who was quickly ousted after he said that famous quote. Metro here is talking about number 10 Downing Street. It says that if Starmer did go, then the UK would be facing its 5th Prime Minister in 4 years. And City AM is still going on there with the puns. It says, "Where do we go from Keir?" And it really is going to be an eventful day in London with the King's speech happening later this morning. And as the Daily Telegraph reports, a meeting at the summit between Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary, and Keir Starmer, a showdown with the Prime Minister where they hope to figure out what to do next for the government, but also for the Labour Party.
And back to Donald Trump heading to China, where he's going to be meeting, of course, with Xi Jinping. What are the American papers saying? You've been looking for us.
Yeah, well, a lot of things have been happening in the past 10 years between the US and China, but it's a slightly different tone right now. In the past weeks, Trump has been repeatedly complimenting Xi Jinping, calling him, for instance, an amazing man. So where did this change in tactics really come from? Well, this article in Foreign Policy says that it could be due to Beijing's willingness to punch back at Washington. The Washington Post also talking about this summit. Obviously, there has this article here. It says that the US has basically given up on trying to convince Beijing to reform its economic model, and instead it's actually drawn inspiration from China by encouraging greater federal government intervention in the private sector. Now, going to the UK with The Guardian has slightly a different article here. It's looking at an interesting story. Apparently, the Chinese government has used a linguistic workaround by choosing a different character to represent Marco Rubio's name in order to overcome their own sanctions on the Secretary of State so he can get into China for the summit with Trump. Now, Rubio was banned from China after fiercely championing human rights in the country. And since the tweak, he's been seen boarding Air Force One with the president.
OK, fascinating line. What about the Chinese papers? What do they say?
Well, let's have a look at the English language Chinese papers, and starting with China Daily. It has this full page dedicated here to different opinion pieces. It says that the summit will inevitably focus on technological rivalries and on tariffs, topics which cannot be resolved by, quote, unilateralism or geopolitical domination that marred international relations in the past. Meanwhile, in the Global Times, they have this extremely positive editorial here today, which says that it reminds its readers that China and the US share a planet and their relationship is key to peace in the world.
Now, next, climate scientists. They're very worried about the impact, apparently, of El Nino this year, something we hear about fairly regularly, but this is even more extreme.
Yes, quite extreme. It's quite a worrying article in the New York Times. Let's have a look. It's an opinion piece here. It says that the world is about to get a preview of life in 2035 because a, quote, climate monster is growing right now in the Pacific Ocean, El Nino. As a reminder, El Nino is what happens when unusually warm water gathers in the Pacific Ocean and leads to huge climate disruption. Now, this article says that the world is going to learn how much disruption it can or cannot manage. This year will probably be stronger than the super El Nino of 2015 and perhaps more intense than the infamous El Nino of 1877. Now, the Washington Post is talking about this 1877 El Nino here. It says it might have been the worst environmental disaster in human history. At the time, it led to a global famine, which led to the deaths of over 50 million people. So the big question, of course, is could this happen today? Well, experts say that the extremes this year could be even more extreme than in 1877 because of global warming. but that the world is more prepared for it thanks to today's vastly different social and political context. So the world's most vulnerable will probably be facing food insecurity, but not on the scale they saw in 1877.
Hopefully it won't be so bad. Emily's also found us some good climate news too.
Yes, because you always have to find the silver linings and look on the bright side of life. So I found this article here in the BBC that's slightly more encouraging, because even if we might be slightly warmer next year, at least we'll be contributing to scientific progress, because sunburns have inspired scientists to find a new way of storing energy. So when you get sunburnt, the DNA molecules in your skin are irradiated and change into a strained version of themselves and maintain heat and maintain energy. That's why our skin is warmer, for instance, after we've had a sunburn. Now, scientists say that these molecules could be the key to finding new ways of storing energy, which could help decarbonise heating and revolutionise, in particular, the housing industry. Now, so far, they've only managed to heat up an extremely small kettle, apparently, but who knows where they could go from here.
It's a start, isn't it? You're not advising people to go out and get sunburnt, though, presumably?
No. But I hope they're building on my experience as a very pale person.
Oh dear, poor old thing, poor old Emily. Emily Ball there with the papers on France 24. Thanks very much. Do stay with us here on France 24. A lot more coming up in the next half hour. In Perspective today, we're talking about child sexual abuse, so stay with us for that after the break.